Hey, Jalen, how has faith just shaped you as a husband and dad?
Yeah, I would say, faith is one of those things that if it's a moral guider. I think that if without faith, it's hard to be a solid father figure, husband, and a strong man in your own household.
Welcome to this edition of the Hoel Truth Podcast. Today, special guest is Jalaen Ramsey. We've gotten to know Jalaen. He's helped us out on some commercial roofing stuff. So, Jalaen, take a second, introduce yourself, tell me about your family. And I think we're probably just going to head and start talking about right before Adam hit record or right before Adam lets you see this. You're talking about the Army Rangers. So, kind of like just to get to know you and kind of hear your story of, how you ended up where you ended up at.
Yeah, so I graduated from Shelbyville High School. I ended up going to Wabash College to go play football, run track, and then I decided after about a semester that it wasn't for me.
College?
College.
Okay.
Just college.
Okay.
I love the sports, but college just wasn't for me. It was too expensive. I still owed some money, so I had to work and do the sports, and I was like, I knew I wanted to be something cool in the military. Decided to go. I was going to go sign up for the National Guard to pay for school. And the guy was like, well, you ever heard of the Army Rangers? I'm like, okay. So shipped out 2 weeks later to basic on Mother's Day, which was nuts. And then got down there, did all my training down there, airborne school, infantry school, basic, RASP. It's this special operations selection, like everybody knows. Navy SEALs go through BUDS. That's that version for the Rangers. So they just kind of put you through it and see who quits. I think we start with 500 people in pre-RASP, and then they take the top 165 guys out of that. So you have to compete for those spots. And then we graduated, I think, with around 50.
So you're saying from 500 to 50? 500
to 50. Everybody else just quit.
So the 500 to the 165, how many of them quit, and then how many of them were graded? So
when you're in that 500, you take a PT test, and they put you through the ringer a little bit to see who they think can make it, and then they go down the line and select who they think can make it. And so they select the top 165 guys.
Okay.
And that's your class up. And then you have an 8-week program. You have your first 4 weeks are it's brutal. It's just brutal. And you have a hell week where you go out in the woods for 4 or 5 days. You start Monday morning at 3 o'clock in the morning. You have to do a 12-mile ruck march in under 3 hours. We got done with that, and that's when you're rucking to hell week. So if you don't make that time, you're out. They kick you out. And then we got there, and they said that one person didn't go all the way to the turnaround point. And so the Ranger cadre, the selectors, sat in front of us, said, we're going to do sit-ups until somebody, whoever it was, we know who it was, whoever it was needs to raise their hand and get out. So they did it with us, and they said up and down, and we counted from 1, and then we'd get to 200, and somebody'd be like, okay, it was me. And they'd be like, no, it wasn't. We know it wasn't you, but go ahead and get out of here. And we dropped probably 30 dudes right there. Jeez. We went to 1,000 sit-ups. Took us this was after the 3-hour ruck march. We went to 1,000 sit-ups. That's all before 10 o'clock in the morning on Monday morning. And that was the start of Hell Week. So anyway, we got through all of that. Go on all kinds of stories.
So did the guy finally
everybody made it to the point. They were just messing with us to see who'd quit.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. And I went through in December. So it's it's in Georgia, but it got to the 20s at night.
Right.
So they'd be like, okay, go get some sleep. So we get our sleeping bags out and go set up in the woods. And as soon as you finally get nestled in and stuff, then they throw a flashbang in the middle of you and be like, why are you guys sleeping? Get up. We're going on a run.
Right.
And it'd be 2 o'clock in the morning. And then we come up to a creek and it's frozen over. And so we'd have to bust the ice and crawl through it. And then okay, now you can go to sleep. And then 20 minutes later, I think we got 4 hours of sleep total in 5 days.
Jeez.
Yeah. It was wicked. And then so went from there, got to the unit, did the indoctrination there. It's imagine fraternity hazing, but times 10, right? I mean, these guys are have 12 deployments and are just the top of the line guys. Mm-hmm. And they're just freaks of nature as far as athleticism and strength and mental stuff. So you think you make it through the hard stuff, and then you just get to the hard stuff, and they treat you way worse than selection.
So you never know where I'm going to go with a podcast.
Yeah.
And so I was listening to Brian Buffini yesterday. Mm-hmm. What he's a real estate coach. The average real estate person makes $40,000. His clients that pay for his coaching they average 400,000. They literally average 10x what the average. And I know that's a bad one to really kind of. There's a lot of part-time real estate people, you know. Right. But one thing, Jim Rome, do you know who he is?
Yeah.
So Jim Rome is kind of the godfather of personal development, career success, whatever. And Brian Buffini is an immigrant from Ireland, I believe, is coming to me, and Adam's actually not in my head. So was he at the summit? Okay, so I've seen him at 2 Entree Leadership Summits, Dave Ramsey conferences.
Yeah.
Anyways, he said, you know, that Jim Rome struggled with marriages. And, you know, you got to realize this is 60, 70 years ago, where now you have private jets. So if you've got to fly somewhere and you're that wealthy, you can go to Atlanta, speak, and be back all in the same day. I mean, hell, almost you're gone some days roofing longer. You know what I mean?
Right.
But he said that was one of his regrets.
Yeah.
You know, so you're talking about these guys that are just freaks of nature. Like, how many of them, and maybe you didn't even get to know them that close, like how many of them had it together? Because me personally, like, I'm working on, like, and I've always said this, like, I would rather have a smaller successful company and a successful family than some big massive company.
Right.
Now, I don't want to make that as excuse that I don't use all my God-given talents and push as hard as God wants me to and all that either. There's a fine line there. It's like, well, you know, I just want to be a little roofing company in Rushville and, you know, but I want my wife to love me, you know. Yeah. So how many of them guys do you know, like, did you get that close with them?
Yeah, for sure. So, like, my first team leader, so I was a gunner. So I carried a machine gun. I carried the 240. And because I was big or tall. And so they were like, tall guys carry machine guns, which sucked because it's like a 40-pound. I mean, it's massive. Like, it's almost as tall as I am. And so my team leader, he's the one that carries most of the ammo because I'm already carrying a 40-pound gun. And so he's my first line. He's my first guy. That's, if I screw up, he's going to make me do push-ups for 2 hours. He was super family-oriented. Same thing with our squad leader. Like, it was pretty interesting. So, like, my platoon's about 40 or 30 guys. In our platoon, we had, like, Bible studies. Okay. We had everybody in our platoon that had a wife, like, and their kids, like, were making sure that they had time with their wife and kids, and they wore their faith on their sleeve.
Right.
There was another platoon in our company that, like, a lot of those guys were complete opposite. And that, like, you could see the difference when we would do, like, a live fire of, like, us, because we're more so of a family, because we kind of followed in those guys' footsteps of family first kind of thing, versus them. It's like, if they ever had to mess up on something like that, I mean, they would just be down each other's throats. Now, we would be, but it would be more so, like, out of, like, from a love perspective, like, because we want to be great, not just because you screwed up and made me look bad. Right. So it was pretty cool to see, like, the number one thing that I saw, because, like, anything in special operations, really anything in the military, but especially special operations, because it like requires so much out of you. Everybody that I saw that had a family, that were still married, weren't divorced, had kids, and cared, were faith led.
Right.
Which was, I don't know, I always thought that was cool. And I actually called a lot of those guys recently, like after the Charlie Kirk shooting.
Right.
And I was like, hey, like, I just feel like it's, you know, I never thanked you for showing me that you can do that. Like, you can go be an exceptional human and still be an exceptional father and husband. Right. So, like, I think if I didn't see that, it would be a lot harder for me to, like, know how to navigate it, at least, of being a high functioning individual outside of the house and also being a high functioning father and husband.
So were you married?
Yeah, so I got married right before I went to Afghanistan in 2020.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how long did you serve?
5 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so how long does it take to become an Army Ranger?
Probably all said and done, almost a year.
Okay.
Almost a year. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's all the schooling. That's when you're, like, completely certified to be able to go and deploy with the boys. It's about a year.
And then how many deployments did you do?
I just did the one. Okay. So we went over there. It was actually, when we deployed, it was 2020. So we went over there early January, and then COVID happened. So we were on a remote base in Afghanistan. So, like, it's like a, you know, quote unquote secret base. But so where we were, they told us that we were going to have to stay there for a lot longer. Special operations only deploys for 3 to 4 months at a time. Okay. Because you're doing so much on that 3 to 4 months that you can't do it. You can't keep that up for a year and a half or a year, like you hear a lot of guys go. Mm-hmm. So we want to go for 3 or 4 months. Well, at 3 or 4 months was March of 2020 when COVID hit. So they were like, you guys are going to have to stay there for and we didn't know we were coming back. I ended up busting my ankle and had to come back to get surgery. By the time I got back, everything was shut down. I never got the surgery because the hospitals were closed. Everything on the base was closed. But yeah, I mean, like even over there, it was super interesting. Like we always had Bible studies. It's like we doubled them when we were over there, and I was not faith led then. Like I had been to church maybe once in my life. Like my parents were super religious growing up. I knew about it, but Megan, my wife, really got me like into learning about faith, and it's one thing to hear from your wife, you know, that grew up in a church about that stuff, and then versus hearing it from other guys you look up to, that you're like, I mean, these guys are awesome. Right. I mean, these guys are just like the top of the line Americans, right? It's everything that I wanted to be. And so when you have both of those sides pushing at you, like pushing like, hey, go learn about your faith. That was massive for me, like a huge part of my development as a Christian. So,
yeah. And, you know, and it just, with me, like I'm on this journey right now, of like, the last couple years, we've done a lot of training inside the business. We went to this training put on by a good friend, The Journey to Nobody. And, you know, the gist of that is, you know, what you want in life, you have. Like, if you want joy, then go have joy. Like, you know, and, you know, one of the things is a lot of, I don't want to say the training's based on it, but like the 4 agreements, be impeccable with your word, you know, don't take anything personal, and it's 2 of them. And like, at the end of the day, it's like, you know, and then also another thing that I really took from it, it was like, we're all telling ourselves the story, and absolutely everybody is damaged. Everybody is recovering from their childhood. And what I've come to realize in life is if you act like you're all perfect and you got it all together, you're the biggest fucking train wreck there is. So Agreed. You know what I mean? Like, but then there's also that other line where it's like people want to spread their dirty laundry every day, all day. And it's like, okay, now you're just completely doing it for attention, you know, but like, you got to watch what story you're telling yourself. Right. And I mean, even on a daily basis, like, you know, like, why didn't my wife answer? Is she in an accident? Right. Or, you know what I mean? Right. Like, why is he late? Like, you know, he's not going to show up today. Well, no. Right. Adam was late this morning to bust his chops because the guy's working on his health. He's down 80 plus pounds, and he was out running and lost track of time this morning. Yeah. If he's going to give me some excuse for being late, it's a pretty good one. I'll take that one. You know? Right. But like, you know, I mean, so for me, like, right now, like if I'm just getting honest about faith and working, like, you know, love my dad, raised me practically as a single parent from when I was 2, but he had anger and temper issues, and I'm 90% better. And you know how long I've held on to, well, I'm better than he was. And, you know, like, and it's just now to the point, it's like, okay, it's a sin, and you have to deal with it, and you have to call it what it is. Right.
Well, I think a lot of that's complacency too, right? Yeah. It's so easy to become complacent, especially. I feel like it's a lot easier now that I have kids at home. Right. Right. I feel like it's like, if you would have asked me what I wanted to be when at any point in my life, I'd been like, I want to be a family man. Like, that's what I want to do. Right. And now it's like, okay, well, I have the wife and kids, and it's like, that's not what being a family man is, right? Like, that's just not even scratching the surface of what a family man is like, anybody can do that. Anybody can have a wife and kids, but like leading them, like whether that be in faith, whether that be in, like my wife and I are very like hard on competition. Like, I think that competition breeds greatness. Like, no matter what it is, competition breeds greatness. And if you don't have the competition, you have nothing to push you. Now, maybe that's not comparing yourself to somebody else. Right. I mean, maybe that's just competing with yourself. Like for me, like health is a big thing. Like, I still go to the gym. It's just part of what I do. And like competing with yourself and tracking your workouts and stuff like that. Like, all of that stuff's important. You know, tracking at the end of a year your business numbers and being able to compete with yourself from last year and being like, it's not necessarily competing with the next roofer. Right. It's competing with yourself. And if you don't have that, and like I'm dealing with that a lot in the church right now. It's like we go to a small Baptist church, and they were looking for a new Sunday school teacher for the adult class. That's like a scary thing to do, right? I mean, you're going in there, you have to have enough knowledge to be able to teach whatever you're teaching. And like, you have all these people that have been in there and been going to the same church for 20, 30, 40 years. And I'm a new guy, my wife grew up in the church, but I've only been in the church for 5 or 6 years. I was like, I'll do it. You know what I mean? Like, I can't promise I'm going to be the best, but I'm going to try my best. So like I feel like for a long time after getting out of the Army, like I always struggled with finding something that pushed me. And because I always feel like I have to be pushed. If I get that complacent, like I go down a spiral that's hard to get out of. And so, like it's just stuff like that. I think that like we as men and as business owners and like as looking to be higher achieving individuals, no matter what you are, like you have to have that competition in yourself and know when it's a good point to not have competition too, right? To be able to like, okay, I could take a breath. I can rest with the family on Saturday, or, it's in the winter and my daughter wants to go see Santa Claus. Like we can go and do that. It's not that I have to put 8 hours hard every single day into what I'm doing now because we've laid a good foundation. Right. So, and like, like my wife, right? Like she could absolutely we're the business in a really good spot and she could absolutely never have to work again. Right. But she's in NP school to get her master's degree to be a nurse practitioner. She's doing her clinicals. Like all that stuff is hard. Right. I help her study. It's hard. I can't even pronounce the words. She's asking me to read off these index cards. So it's like, she doesn't have to do that. Right. But it's one of those things where we talk about it a lot. She's like, am I doing the right thing? Our kids are young. Like, I feel like I'm putting a lot of energy into this. I'm like, yeah, but we have a daughter. Right. And our daughter one day is going to see that we built all this. We did all of this while they were young. And she's going to realize that one day. So I think you have to, when I came back, it felt like I was super alone out of the Army, right? That was the hardest part of the transition because you were around high achieving individuals all of the time. It was, if we were not at work, we were working out. Right. It was ridiculous, level. And so for me, when I got back to little Shelbyville, nobody's doing that. Right. Nobody around you is pushing you constantly. And if I didn't have my wife to be like, no, you need to go and do this, or that's not good enough, or something like that. And me to her as well, with pushing her to go to NP school, like it's just who you surround yourself with, and if you can, she's trying to outdo me, and I'm trying to outdo her, and that's a healthy thing to do.
Well, and I was talking to a good friend yesterday, and like your kids are learning and picking up, and as a parent, I feel like I've reflected a lot in the last couple months of what my kids are picking up from me. But, it is healthy to see you pushing, because the kids are absorbing and exerting that. Yep. And how old are your kids?
3 and 1.
Yeah. And even at that little,
right.
It's amazing of just watching my kids are 6, 9 now technically, and 10. And just to watch how competitive they are. My son, he started showing calves last year, and some people don't like when I say this, but he probably wants to beat your kid if he knows you. Right.
That's a good thing though.
And we demonize it as a society.
Right.
And, and you're right. You got to be around high achievers. And me and my wife's had this conversation. It's and then I feel like it's even harder to find friends when you have kids, because then you're like, okay, here's the set of morals I'm going to live with. Yep. And it's okay, there's all these weirdos out there anyway. So it's who do you trust around your kids? Right.
Right.
But B, it's okay, where are their morals going to be at? No, it's not going to be okay to let little Johnny smoke pot around my kid when he's 12.
Right. It's just not
going to be,
We have a neighbor across the street that moved in not too long ago, a couple of years ago, and he was in Secret Service for 8 years, and then he was a state trooper for a while. Well, he has three kids, but one of them just shipped off to go be in the Air Force Academy, and it's being able to see them for the last few years, and him as a father work with his son and constantly push him. Now that kid, he's at the Air Force Academy, he's asking me because I was in the military, right? And I'm like, dude, you're gonna show up and you're gonna feel like you had higher expectations than when you got there, right? And that's not a bad thing. And so I just talked to him the other day, and he's like, man, there's some people here that just should not be here. Yeah. I told you, you're gonna get there, and you have been around, Scott has put into his son you need to go be the best.
Right.
And that, like, nothing else is good enough. And it's all it does is put your children in a better position.
Well, and like, you know, who they're around. Like, I was just talking to my son, he's 10, but I mean, he's very mature for a 10-year-old. And you know, that is a quality that my dad, being a single dad, like, I had to do a lot of things. Like, I grew up a lot quicker than maybe I should have had to, you know. So, like, I put a lot of responsibility on my son, running the skid loader, running the mini excavator. I mean, he can drive a truck better than some people that work for me, you know. He's 10 years old, you know. But he's just he's so mature.
Yeah. Well, he's probably a lot more receptive now, too,
and
right?
I'm just like, Bud, I'm like, you don't realize the amount, the quality of people I'm putting around you. You know, like, I'm like, it's going to pay huge dividends.
Right.
And I've told him, I was like, you're not going to always fit in with people, and that's okay too.
Right.
Because, like, I feel like we've lowered the standard of who you fit in with so much anymore that, you know, and yeah, when you're around like-minded people, we just, Garrett Abrams just started a leadership group. We had a meeting last night, and it's cool because I've been part of a roofing group of roofing owners from all over, and it's easier to find a few guys from here and a few guys from there, but like, to find them local, you know, to me, it's just, it's fun because business is business. You've got to be competitive. You got to be willing to put up with the crap. You know, you've got to be willing to push through. And like, but my kids are witnessing this.
Right.
And, you know, and I tell them, like, hey guys, I know we have a nice house, and I drive them by. I was like, that's the first house me and your mom started in.
Yeah.
So like, don't
forget.
Don't get it in your head, you know. Now, I'm completely fine with my kids starting here on my shoulders and going up.
Well, that should be the goal, right?
Like, you know, some people are like, nope, they need to start at the bottom.
Yeah, I struggle with that too.
I get it, but that's also why, you know.
That's why you work.
That's why I make my son, like, you know. That's why I make my son go help people. And, you know, I don't know. I'm on that kind of, where I'm at in life right now is like, be super intentional on how I'm treating my wife, my kids, and because I know they're watching, they're learning, you know, and as a man of faith, you know, nobody's perfect. I completely get that. But I guess we've got to have people close enough to you that can call you out for your sins.
Right.
And you accept it, you know.
100%. Like, it's no different than like, whether I was in the Army or whether it's like my buddies now. Like, if I go out, you know, with my buddies and we go hang out for an evening, and then, you know, one of my really good friends that's married, and I know, you know, and I love his wife to death, right? If he starts talking to another girl, well, then I'm going to go slap him. Right. And that's what friends do. That's what friends should do anyway. Like, tell you when you're wrong, whether that's in the church, whether that's in the household, whether that's, you know, wherever. If you don't have those people around you, then like, they're not your friends. Right. Like, I'd say it all the time, right? So like, when I was I bring up the Rangers a lot, but it's just like kind of like it shows a lot being able to talk there with those high performers. And I'd see all the time where squad leaders that have 15 deployments, right? And they're 28 years old. I mean, these guys are some salty dudes. And if they ever got into an argument, they would fight. Right. And whoever won would win the argument. Right. That's just what the culture was. And so, but it was like that accountability of like, okay, we're gonna get back up, we're gonna shake hands, and we're gonna keep talking about what we were just talking about. Right. And then you get to like the world, like for me, like I get to the world now, and it's like, well, everybody tells you that everything's okay, and everybody messes up, and it's like, to an extent, right? But that doesn't mean you should be okay with it. Right. You know, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't work on it. Like, like, you know, like leading that, and then your kids should be following that as well. Right. You know, and like it brings me to tears almost every Sunday because like our boy is just now walking, and he knows that he can walk up to the pew and go lay his head on the pew. I mean, that kid like is a China and Bull shop wherever. China and Bull shop wherever he goes. I mean, he put his head through drywall, like, you know what I mean. That's just how he is. But he gets to church and he knows he can go to that pew and he can rest on it. Like that makes my heart happy. Right. You know. So I don't know. Like I think it would be really, really hard. It would be a lot harder to run a successful business without being led by faith. Right. I do. Like I because there's certain things in business where like sometimes you just take care of. Sometimes you just do, right? Sometimes you just go to an old lady's house and just like has like one thing that's wrong. It's like, let me just do it for you, right? Let me just pay it forward. And it's not like because you expect something in return, it's just because you know it's morally correct. Where you have, you know, bigger companies are still going to charge that lady $500 or $1,000. So, but if you don't have that moral guideline, I think it becomes really hard to have a good name for yourself.
Well, and I also feel like, you know, you've got to watch what you attract. Another thing that I've kind of just felt or just learned over the last couple of years is like, you know, you got to watch, you got to kind of pay attention. And like, for me, like it's just to step back and watch people. You know, it's even as a business owner, like this is going to sound really bad. And if the wrong person hears this, it may offend them, but I'm okay with that. But like, there's even times that people come here and work and they don't fit in. And we try to do as good a job as we can screening and hiring, and we still suck at it sometimes. Right. But it's what I've noticed. It's the people that stay here, they gel.
Yeah.
And then it's that, and then every once in a while you'll notice like one or two people that they're kind of over here in the corner, kind of in their own little clique per se.
Yep.
And then I look up and 6 months later, it's like they kind of both flew the coop. And I don't know.
I think like, everybody wants to feel like they belong too, right? Right. Like they're a cog in the machine.
But I feel like, you know, when it comes to faith and like, you know, you're not going to go hang out with dudes that want to go run around on the wives every weekend, because eventually, like, okay, I'm smart enough to know that if I'm dumb enough to be around these guys, I'm going to do that one of these days. Or I'm so annoyed that there's no way I can put up with them. Like, literally, my wife asked me the other day, she's like, have you heard anything from that guy? I was like, nope, he's getting divorced, running around on his wife. And I'm okay.
Yeah,
like, not that I won't love them. It's not that I'm better than them.
Right.
However, like, I want to be able to have a conversation with a guy like you to be like, hey, man, how's things going, bro? Right. You know, hey, we're working our ass off over here, and, you know, my wife's this close to being done. And, you know, I've learned that I've had to step up as a husband and do more of this, you know. I mean, there's a podcast that I've kind of got on a kick of listening to this pastor. His name's Joby Martin. And he's in Jacksonville, Florida. Really still don't remember how I ever ran across in him. But he just wrote this book, Stand Up and Act Like Men. Stand Firm and Act Like Men, I think. And I've said this for several years. Like, the problems of this country 99% of them would be fixed if men stepped up and act like men. Yep. Love their wife, love their kids, provided, didn't take government handouts. Once again, I'm not against you taking a little bit of help if you need it.
Right.
But it's not a career field, you know, and dealing with their shit.
Yeah.
Like, dealing with their struggles, dealing with their past, instead of acting like it doesn't exist.
Right.
You know.
Well, I think there's a huge transition, too, in the church, just in general, where it became very feminized.
Yes.
And, like, if you were to, if normal, I say normal people, right? If normal people were to go to the church that I go to, their jaws would be on the floor the whole time. Like, it's a very masculine service. Right. And it's not anti-women. That's not what that means, right? I mean, that's how we think about it now. But it's just saying, like, you know, if your wife is not in a good spot, then you're not in a good spot.
Right.
Right? Like, yeah, if your kids are doing this or doing this, then that means that it's a reflection of yourself. And so this whole form of Christianity, I've never been around it.
Mm-hmm. This is hilarious, because I love this, because this is exactly what Joby talks about. Go ahead.
Yeah, but it's like all I've known is my wife that went to this small little 30-person Baptist church. It's very masculine, so I hear that from her side. And then I also have these guys that are just these killers, and their form of Christianity, and neither one of them align with the world's.
Right.
The world has a very different form of Christianity than like what my Christianity is, right? Like, we are not just roll over everything sunshine and rainbows. You know what I mean? Like, to me, that's not what it means. That's not what the gospel means. That's not what any of that means. And so you have to have men that are willing to do the hard things all of the time, because like God did give us a purpose,
right?
And like, there's a reason that we are in God's army. You know what I mean? Like, we are not just standing by. We're not just like, oh, we're you know, bowing down to anybody and everybody, right? Like, we're not just saying like, oh, everything you're doing is okay because Jesus forgives all. No, that's not what it says. It doesn't mean it's okay. It doesn't mean to condone it, right? And I also expect the same from somebody else to me. And now we have all this like, no, Jesus forgives. Jesus, you know, blah, blah, blah. Like, you're talking for Jesus, like, and that's never a good thing to do. But I think that like, that was kind of that flip that we see now in the church is every like, I don't know how many church roofs I've done. and I go by, and like the things that I hear them saying in there, and I'm like, but there is a very real hell.
Right.
All we're talking about is the forgiveness and all this stuff, but like there should be like a godly fear. Right? I mean,
well, and it's like, and this is hilarious. I'm going to kind of watch what I say because I don't want everything to be out. But like, I mean, so like it's demonized, traditional husband-wife roles, like, and, my wife is a badass, is amazing. And there's some days she's like, I need you to handle this. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, yeah, that's what, and there is no like, I'm better than her. Like, we've built this. You will always say us.
Right.
I will actually say she's probably a bigger part of it. Like, yeah, I had the vision.
Right.
But she believed in me. Like, and the Bible says that, men needs a helper. And like, once again, like, I know some people can like twist that, but there are certain roles that the man's supposed to do. And it's funny because, this will kind of bring up a little bit of what we talked about before we recorded without totally trashing that. Right. But, there is, my wife will say like, yeah, there's certain things I don't want to do. And like, feminine energy is a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And masculine energy, and masculine is not like demanding and that kind of stuff for like, hey, you're my peasant,
right.
We might joke with the guys of like, hey, did your old lady cook dinner last night? It's a joke, like, but like I said, it's just so funny because like Joby Martin talks about like how a lot of churches it's all feminized,
right?
And now he also says we got to watch and make sure the pendulum doesn't swing completely to the other way.
I agree.
But it's kind of crazy. Like, I didn't even really know who I'd seen some Charlie Kirk reels and stuff, but I didn't even know his name. When somebody said Charlie Kirk was shot, I'm like,
yeah.
And I looked, I was like, oh yeah, I recognize the guy.
Yeah.
But it's kind of crazy because like one thing that he said that he asked his wife every day was like, how can I love and how can I serve you more? And I've got a really good friend, Britton. He's in Georgia. He owns a window and door company. And he's like, hey, man, I'm going to start asking my wife that. And the crazy thing is he's married to an Erica also, like Charlie. I was like, yeah, watch doing that. I said, I've done that lately with Emily, and she'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
It's going to hurt your feelings a little bit, and it's just, I don't know. It's like, no wonder that men, what are they, secular men don't want to come to the church when it's so feminine, and it's like, okay, like we need to step up. And like Joby talks a lot right now of like, men in their 20s, of like how many of them are going out to pursue women, and and it's even like online dating and the lack of like having to have a conversation and all that kind of stuff is really, what did somebody say that either right now there's a big gender difference, and I can't remember which way, one's going real far left and one's going real far right. And it's kind of weird. Yeah. Because it's like
1,000. Like I was talking about that kid that's in the Air Force Academy now. He's in the prep school for it. It's interesting. Like those guys, the normal people that you would think there would be at the Air Force Academy or a prep school like that is like high functioning, well-rounded individuals, right? And he says it all the time. Like the young men that are there that he's surrounded by are very far right now. Very far right. And so you have these guys, you have the crazy, like such a massive difference where, and I'm 27. So like, I don't know how long ago it wasn't like that.
Right.
But it's so in our face now because we have the media, we have our phones, we have all that stuff.
Yeah.
And there's no getting away from it. You have to pick a side.
Right.
And there's a lot of that like in the church. There's a ton of that in the church where like, if you believe this, then you have to believe this. Like, I'm very open. Like, I will go and I've done it 3 or 4 times with our pastor. Our pastor has pastored that church for 30 years. And like, I'll be like, I don't agree with that. Like, I want to talk to you about that. And we can sit down and have a conversation about the Bible, about the passage that we was talking about, whatever it was, and come to an understanding of either why he said what he said or why he believes what he did. And if you don't have that, confrontation is not always a bad thing.
Right.
Like you have to have that to grow. And like what you were talking about, like with your wife, right? Like I decided I was going to start this business. My wife was pregnant. I was getting out of the military, so I wasn't going to have that paycheck. We were in Georgia, so we had to get a house back home. And I'm like, I really think that I could start this business. My wife was like, okay. She's like, I believe in you. Let's give it 6 months. If you can get this thing on its feet in 6 months, then let's roll with it, right? And so like I had, like in my brain, I already had this family that I am trying to feed.
Right.
You know, I have a house that I'm trying to pay for this baby that's not here yet. And a wife that's counting on me. And like that, there is no amount of like podcasts or motivational videos or anything like that. Like if you truly love your wife, that she says, I need you to do this for us. Like,
well, and like what I've also seen is there's a statistic that says men with kids make, especially in the sales world, sell more jobs, make more money. Mm. Like, I mean, they have to, and that's the pressure being put on themselves. Right. And like, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and once again, it takes nothing away from the woman's support,
right,
the woman's help, because
it doesn't work without it.
Yeah. I mean, around here, like you're not getting paid. I mean, I don't even know where the checkbook's at.
I tell everybody, Megan's the boss. I mean, she runs company. I'm just a worker. You know what I mean? Like if somebody, like I've had situations where like we don't get paid. Right. And I'm like, you know, they'll call me, they'll try to make these excuses. I'm like, listen, dude, like if the accountant gets a hold of you, like it's no law. And she's the accountant because she will rip into them 10 times as hard as I will. Right. And it's like, but those strong women, like, because people think that like if you follow, quote unquote, follow your husband, right, that they're not strong women. Right. Those are some of the strongest women that you could find. Right. Period. Right. Like if you're around,
I'm telling you, there's people around here are more intimidated of Emily right now than she is me, and she's, you know, I mean, she's 120 pounds soaking wet, you know. So, but it's truly a beautiful thing, like when you can build something with a spouse, you know, and, you know, and one thing that I always say that I've always tried to speak life into my wife was like, and all females is like, we've demonized a poor girl can't do it right. I mean, there's people demonizing your wife right now because she's going to nurse practitioner school because she's not focusing 100% on them babies, you know, and then there's a poor girl that's at home right now with a 1 and 3 year old that's getting demonized because they're not working, you know? Right. And I, my poor wife, like we started doing the Dave Ramsey stuff almost 15 years ago now, so she could be a stay-at-home mom. She was, and then she's in the business, you know, tries to cut back due to trying to get some things done, production help. She's back in here 5-6 days a week, 12, 14-hour days, you know, but she's willing to put in the work, and, you know, but like, it's refreshing, honestly, to see some more Christian values. I guess you almost had to be, and I never was, like when the whole COVID thing was, like I shared my opinion and my wife's like, we can't do that. We own a business. I was like, the hell if I can. But, you know, it's refreshing to see that because, you know, it's what this country needs, and this isn't a right or left or you're crazy, you're stupid, but with what a lot of the, we'll just call it, you can call it left or anti-God stuff, like they're having abortions, they're not having babies. Do they not realize that they're actually going to be extinct one day? Right. I mean, not to be rude.
It's just math.
If you're not having babies.
Right. It's just math.
Like, you know, and then this side over here is, and hopefully they're being raised in a healthy, where they see, you know, like our nurse practitioner therapist that a lot of us, Stephanie, that a lot of us here at the company works with, like, you know, kids that come from, if you come from having multiple siblings, your conflict resolution is a lot better. And that's one thing me and Emily, we're kind of struggling with on right now, of like, where's the black and white line? What's gray? Because like the kids are going to fight, you know, however, like
sometimes you got to let them, right?
Yeah. Like this morning, like I went to leave and like Reagan's freaking out. I can see it on her face, and she was trying to get Rhett's attention. And I was like, well, she couldn't find her homework that she hadn't done yet as we're walking out the door. And like, and I mean, she just gets like anxiety, I was like, time out. And she's looking in the same spot in the room 7 times. I'm like, it ain't under that bag. Like, you looked 7 times. Right. I was like, Grandpa picked you up yesterday in my truck, right? Oh, should I go look in your truck?
Probably.
Came right back in. Hey, Dad, it was out there.
Yeah.
Like, we freaked out about it, and I was like, hey, Rhett, but this is how you need to respond to your sister. And he did a good job, but I'll help you. Just go help. And like, one thing that I've really learned in the last couple of weeks, last month, is like how men treat, like I've been trying to be intentional with my son. He's 10, of like, love your sister and love your mom well. Mm. It's like, I know you're going to pick on your sister. That's okay.
Right.
But I was like, protect and love them. Like Joby Martin talks about the time that he got a call that his son punched somebody because they were picking on his daughter.
Yeah.
He's like, not really mad at him.
Yeah.
Got to kind of watch our approach a little bit, So like, I don't know. I think as a country, we need men to step up, and we need, continue to, but older men, we always need to be, in my opinion, you always need a mentor, and you always need to be mentoring somebody.
Agreed.
And what I've also kind of learned more in the last few years is it's okay for me to take some advice from you in this part of your life, back to Brian Buffini and Jim Rome, like where he took advice on, motivational, coaching,
right?
But he would not take advice on marriage because Jim Rome, he said, was a fantastic father.
Yeah. Just
with all the traveling, it didn't work out on marriages. And, that's sad because like you really can have all, but I also know like some super duper high achievers are Andy Fusello with 75 hard, first form, all that. Like he don't have kids.
Right.
And he's like, it might be a blessing that I didn't because I've been so focused on building this. It's a freaking empire. Let's just call a spade a spade.
Right.
However he looks at it is like, I've provided a lot of jobs and I've helped feed a lot of kids, and
there's places where that's needed too.
Right.
Like there's places where there's those kind of people, and not just people in general are needed in whatever given situation. But like back like to the kids thing and like raising. You have to be like when you're having a boy, when you figure out you're having a boy. Like I had a daughter first, and my boy's 1. And when you're having a boy, like this, all these things go through your mind. You know what I mean? Of like, I hope that I can. Like I had a great father. My father was awesome. I was the oldest. I had a younger brother and then a younger sister. And if my dad would ever leave, he'd be like, "You're in charge of the house."
Right.
That didn't mean I was in charge of my mom.
Right.
You know what I mean? That meant protect the women.
Yep.
And so like I always felt like I would almost look forward to like if he was going to work in the morning for the school bus, or like I'd have like 10-15 minutes where it was just like me and my mom and my brother were in there. I'm like, I felt big and bad. And you know what I mean? Like anybody comes to that door, I used to dream about it, that I hope that somebody would come through here so that I could beat him up and I could tell Dad. That's not a bad thing to instill in young men. I mean, and that goes to everything, right? That translates to how you work, who you're around, who you love, like how you treat those people. Or like once you're in my circle, you're on my team.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I got you once you're here. And like, a lot of the friendships, especially like from my perspective, outside of the military, a lot of friendships now don't have that. Mm-hmm. They don't have that like, hey, if you need something, like you can call me. People say that, but people don't really mean it. Right? They say that because they feel like it's the right thing to say, and don't say it as like, I am here for you as much as, as much as I possibly can be.
Well, and I mean, literally I've got a good friend, Don. He's had some health issues, and I mean, my dad raised me, help people. Like I watch my dad come home and my stepmom would be pissed off because he was out helping this person. No pay, just complete kindness. I want to help this person, and my buddy Don, he had some heart issues and they're getting better. And then I said, hey, how much firewood you got? Because he always tells a story. I mean, we call each other neighbors. I used to live right behind him when I lived in Glenwood in my first house. And I would go over there, and Don liked to drink his beer. So, like, he'd go cut a load of firewood, and then he would just pace himself, as he would say, to cut to split the firewood. Right. Well, I'd hear that splitter going. I'd go over there and help him. Well, I don't piss around doing anything, Right. He'd be like, all right, we're only doing half this truckload if you're over here, But, like, I texted him. I was like, hey, how much firewood you got? He's like, I got a little bit. And I said, I'll get you some. And he said, man, I appreciate it. I said, it might be next year,
right?
But but last year we happened to go over there with a load, and he was pulling away to go get another load with a buddy, and we dumped the trailer, went and followed him. Well, we ended up, helping him with another load,
right?
And I want my kids to see that, and So if I'm being honest, I love the small communities. I love that atmosphere. I just wish there was more people that wanted to push themselves.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
You find too much complacency sometimes,
think about how easy it is to be complacent now in today's world. Whether it be the government, whether it be insurance, whatever it is so much easier to sit at home, get unemployment, get government health care, all of that stuff. It's almost like, and it's, if you're my age right now, a lot of my buddies are starting families. And when you start a family, you want to get a house. Well, how hard is it right now? It's almost impossible to get a house right now. You're getting outbid. You're getting outbeat. The interest rates are insane. So it's everything is such an uphill battle right now. And it's so easy to be forget it. I'm done trying. But if you have those people that refuse to do that, that's not an option. I don't think that there's ever been an easier time in human history than right now to make money as a young man with your hands.
Right.
And it's going to keep getting that.
Oh, absolutely.
I tell all my friends that. I'm dude, just go do something.
Right.
Go do something, and I promise you, you will make money doing it because nobody else is doing it.
Right.
It's so much easier. Why would you? Mm-hmm. Right? If you can be complacent with, not working, and willingly not working, not because you're disabled, just because you just don't want to.
Absolutely.
You could do that. They have made it to the point where you can do that. But if you're the opposite, if you're that ain't who I want to be, there's never been an easier time in history.
Right.
Everybody else, when I was in high school, they said if you don't go to college, you're gonna be poor.
Right.
That's just how it was.
Right.
And that turned out to be not true.
Right.
And so now you have, my younger brother. He didn't go to college. He worked at the Delta Faucet for a while, and now he works at Show Materials in the gravel pit. And it's where my dad's worked for 30 years. And it's he's making more money than the guys that I went to college with college degrees because he's working with his hands, and they have to pay somebody to do that.
Right.
Whether that be starting your own business or going and working some labor intensive job. If you go think about what the linemen are making now.
Right.
Those guys, back in the day, those type of laborers, that hard labor, that was the cheap work.
Right.
And now it's not, it's expensive. That's where the money's at.
Yes.
You go and be an electrician, you're going to make money.
Right.
So I don't know. I think about that a lot. I think nobody really talks about that, but I think that for human history ever, right now is the easiest time if you're willing to go get calluses and your hands dirty to make money and provide for a family. 30 years ago, I don't think that was necessarily the case. It was trying to get into computers and trying to get into tech. And now everybody's trying to work from home and remote. Yeah. So it's
yeah, but the funny thing is now everybody's trying to get away from that.
Yeah.
Because of they say back to Andy Facello, he's got some stores, and he says that since COVID, now they're seeing a shift of more foot traffic into the actual physical store because people are missing and they're craving that human interaction.
Yeah.
So as we go to wrap up, what are some goals? Of course, you're wanting to get your wife through nurse practitioner school. Mm-hmm. I get that. But what are some things that you're working on?
Yeah, so we want to build a house. We got some land out in Shelby County, so we want to start working on that. I know that could be tough on a marriage, so we have to start working through that. Yeah, I'm already looking forward to that. But I would say that that's a major goal for us. Another major goal is get the business to the point where Megan can have a nurse practitioner degree and not have to use it.
Nice.
That is, we're kind of at that point now, but we want to keep on making sure that that's the case.
Nice.
Another big thing for us is ensuring that our children go to the right school.
Yep.
Whether that be a homeschool, whether that be a privatized, whatever it may be, and getting them the best education possible. So,
yeah, I would most definitely my kids go to Heartland Christian. And I'm the biggest supporter of any public school that needs encouragement. It's a speaker.
Right.
But I'm just going to say it as a believer. It's the best thing I've ever done for my kids. And I make no apologies. I used to kind of worry I wonder if this customer is going to think that I'm charging too much because my kids go to private school.
Right.
It's so, a lot of people are oh, that is so awesome. I would have done that if I had kids you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but no, I want to thank you for your time. And I just want to encourage you to just keep up the good work. And just keep making a difference, like, and you're doing it right with the kids, the family. Like, that's what this country needs. More men focused at home, loving their family, doing that right, and then it can just kind of spill over.
Spills over for everybody else.
So thank you, sir.
Yep, thank you.